Hello everyone, this is Shubrika. You're on your favorite section SJ Live brought to you by Crown Paints. If you like it, crown it. This is a show on which we bring to you so many personalities which are actually well known and they have got so many motivational and inspiring qualities. Together with that, we try to cover the topics which can be of your interest. In these corona times, there's so many people, so many parents who are actually worried about their kids, how their immunity can increase, how they can take care of their kids in these times, what should be done to protect their kids. And there are many questions. If the schools start, how they're going to go about it, and how kids are going to take care of themselves, and many others. So in these times, we have a special guest who is a pediatrician, Dr. Madhura Joshi. She is going to answer all our queries. Welcome to the show, Dr. Madhura Joshi. How are you?
I'm good, Shubrika. Thank you for inviting me on this show and taking up this burning issue in today's times, that is childcare in times of Corona. Thank you so much for inviting me again.
Let me introduce you to all our viewers. Dr. Madhura K. Joshi is a consultant pediatric endocrinologist at Medihill Hospital, Parklands. She is MBBS DNB Pediatrics, has got fellowship in pediatric endocrinology, and has got special interest in childhood diabetes, growth disorders, and thyroid problems in children. You know, thyroid and diabetes are the issues which we always relate to the elderly people.
True, true. Although they are not as common as you see in elderly people, but they do exist in children. In fact,
Okay.
in Kenya itself, we have over 2,000 diabetic children.
Oh,
So there is an entity which is type 1 diabetes that exists in children.
acha.
So all these are set of hormonal problems in children, which I got interested into when I was doing my post-graduation in pediatrics.
Okay.
Although thankfully these problems are not as common as the other problems which we regularly see,
Yeah.
but definitely they require some specialized care, and that got me interested, and then I further pursued the course.
Okay, so you have done a special course also in all these things.
Yes, yes. We in India, fortunately, we do have fellowship programs in pediatric endocrinology, which last from 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
So by God's grace, I was able to get into one such very good program and
that's
train
good.
myself in hormonal problems in children.
Okay, and you know, in these times, Corona and COVID, so many people are actually worried about their kids, even including parents like me. We always
Mm.
think that if the kids go to school, what is going to happen? And even if they are at home or we are taking them out once in a while, we are actually worried how to take care of them. So, what do you have to say in Kenya? How has COVID affected children?
Okay, so fortunately, as of now, what we know about COVID, the good news is that the way it affects children, it is less severe as compared to the illness that occurs in adults
Okay,
and the older age group.
okay,
Also, the number of children that are affected, we are seeing, are fortunately less. So, just to give a idea, world over, if we see, then the numbers that were released by CDC as of July 21st, 2020, were 6.6%. So you can understand this in this way, that out of all 100 patients of COVID, less than 6 were children, or 6 to 7 were children.
okay,
Similarly, in Kenya, I read it on, the last I read was in August, on 25th of August. The update said that around 1,000 to 1,200 cases in children were identified, where most of them were adolescents, and around 400 were younger children. So this goes to say that we're having 35,000, over 35,000 people who are totally affected, who are in toto affected with COVID. Out of that, less than 1,500. So you see the numbers are really less, and
mm.
the type of illness is also milder as
Not
compared
very
to,
severe.
yeah, it is not very severe.
Okay.
Very few of them require hospitalization or oxygenation, and which is a good news again.
Actually, a good.
Mostly it presents like any other flu. If you talk about how it presents in children,
Mm.
so generally the symptoms are very similar to any common cold or the common flu that we say. So they may come with symptoms as usually seen as running nose, fever,
Mm.
mild dry cough, some amount of body ache,
Mm.
Some children may also have soreness of throat and headaches. Okay, and very few of them do complain of diarrhea, but that's about it. So you see these all the symptoms that I mentioned, we see in any other
Viral
common cold
infection.
which children
Yeah.
catch, any other viral infection which children commonly catch during the colder seasons, etc.
Yeah.
So this is what is the symptomatology in children so far. But
Okay.
having said that, yes, there are some children who already have some other problems. Some of them I mentioned, like type 1 diabetes or
Mm.
type 2 diabetes in the adolescents, or any other system which is already affected, like children who are having any congenital heart disease
Mm.
or any other respiratory problem like asthma, which could be moderate or severe. So these are the set of children who
More
may
prone
progress
to.
on to some severe kind of an illness, but otherwise generally it's a mild illness and it passes on its own without any medications.
Okay, that's really good. But still,
Yes.
are there any preventive measures which can be taken to avoid?
Definitely. See, whatever knowledge we have of COVID is starting from December 2020. So,
Mm.
counting on that, we cannot make, very, very affirmative sentences that, illness has to be only mild in children. Nahi. You have to still take all the preventive measures which the WHO and the CDC have guided us with, and which our local state health authorities are guiding us with. So the ones which nowadays, I think most of us are very, very aware of the general preventive measures, and these are the ones which stand good till now, in preventing COVID infections. So
Yeah.
the first and the foremost which all of us are aware and are practicing is hand washing. Now
Hmm.
for hand washing, if easily available, then soap is the best. If you're going out or soap and water is not easily available, then alcohol based sanitizers are what are advised. So hand washing still remains one of the very good preventive measures.
Okay.
Second preventive measure is social distancing. We all know that the coronavirus is shared from the respiratory droplets, and
Hmm.
it is present in the air as micro droplets.
Hmm.
And then it may also fall on surfaces and contaminate the surfaces and doorknobs and handles and other things which we may touch and then acquire the virus after touching our nose or face or lips or those areas. So that is why it is said that social distancing. So if you're away from public, if you're away from other people who may be affected with coronavirus and maintain a distance of at least 2 meters, then it can help in prevention of catching the infection. The third important point is, if it is unavoidable and you have to take your children to public settings in some case scenario, then over the age of 2 years, it is recommended that the kids wear mask. Now, these masks need not be those real N95 masks, etc., etc. Simple cloth mask or your surgical masks, which are fitting the child well, is what is more important, can be used for prevention in the public setting areas. Also, when they're out in those areas, sanitization of the hands, telling them that do not touch surfaces which might be frequently touched by other people, etc., has to be practiced. Third most important thing is taking care of your general immunity. By that, I mean to say that don't go very overboard with things, while while building your
Yeah,
immunity.
actually, I was
General
coming to that
guidelines.
question. It is very tough for kids. It is very tough for us to tell kids that wear a mask. They don't wear it, frankly speaking. Practically, they wear
Yeah,
for 5 minutes, then they take it off. It's disturbing
exactly.
for them. Then,
Yeah,
it is very tough for them to say, don't touch here. Then again, don't touch your mouth. Even we tend to touch our eyes often, our nose often. So it is very tough for the kids to
exactly.
do that. In that case,
I think
immunity is
that is
something.
why the government took these decisions of closing the schools
Cool.
first, the
Yeah.
malls, etc. The idea was to keep the kids at home because we all know that they cannot really strictly follow all these instructions,
Yeah.
and that is why the reason that the schools are starting the latest, so
Hmm.
that the younger ones who are below 6-7 years, they may not follow all these instructions of hand washing all the time, wearing a mask, etc. But yes, if at all parents have to take them out, at least when they are in areas where the public may be more, say for example a bus stop or a hospital or an airport, at least in those times the kids can be told to wear the mask. Try explaining them the pros and cons so that they might understand and then try to wear it. So that's about it. But yes, that's why it's said that it's better to stay at home in these times. And even though the kids are having a minor kind of a presentation in terms of symptomatology, families may have some other older adults in their house. So if a child contracts the infection, there is a likelihood that he may pass it on to the elders in the family, who may progress on to get, to a severe illness. So better till the schools don't start, as far as possible, keep them at home.
Are there any ways
In case,
to increase their immunity?
okay, so the ways to increase their immunity, actually we all are aware of them, we have been aware of them, but now since arrival of this coronavirus, we suddenly, more light is being thrown on all these methods, etc. So what I realized is, see, for immunity, first and foremost, what I want to tell all parents is that please, below 5 years, do not miss your immunization schedule. Immunization, vaccination itself is an immunity booster. It provides you with immunity of those, preventable illnesses, immunity for those preventable illnesses. So please don't miss those injections. Get in touch with the doctor, make provisions to, such that the clinic visits are less crowded, or they are segregated from the other adult patients, something like that. But try to take the vaccinations on time, because there are many vaccines which prevent against pneumonia from other cause. So in these times, we don't want our children to fall sick with any other bacterial illnesses, so that will decrease their immunity further. So take the vaccination schedule, which the child is due for, after discussion with your healthcare provider.
Okay.
Secondly, for general immunity, we are all aware that all the essential balanced components in a diet, like carbohydrate, proteins, vitamins, minerals, these are all, they are the basis for the child's good immunity. So a balanced diet, which we used to follow, we have to continue to follow. A bit of, again, we knew that vitamin D is important for immunity, but now we've become really more aware of it. And in these times where we cannot take them out for getting vitamin D in sunlight, again, get in touch with your doctors, see if the daily supplementation is on. If it is not on, you can talk to your doctor and get it, because in these times they are not really stepping out of the house, so the vitamin D supplementation might be needed. Thirdly, the minerals, etc. From fruits and vegetables, we do get all those stuff. So going overboard and doing it, through syrups, etc., is not advised unless there is deficiency. Make sure you take a good balanced kind of a diet. Now, when you ask me about this immunity booster, I also want to make some few things clear. I heard a lot about, drinking hot water with turmeric and lemon and chewing garlic, etc., helps to prevent COVID-19. It is not so. It is a myth. For all parents who are interested in knowing further about, the myths and facts about COVID-19, the WHO, if you just put this on Google, myths and facts about COVID-19, the WHO site has given a very good document where they have discussed about this in greater detail. But as I said, going overboard with anything like chewing garlic daily or taking turmeric extra, etc., will not prevent COVID-19. The general guidelines that we discussed in the beginning, those are the ones that are to be followed. Eat a good balanced diet. Eat your daily portions of fruits, which you may, if you were not eating, try to include that in your diet, and take vitamin D. So this is what we are, and do not miss your vaccinations. So all these points will boost the immunity for sure.
Okay. In these times when actually kids are not able to go out, mental issues are also very much important. Kids are feeling mentally stressed, they are feeling depressed, they are feeling very low because they are not able to meet people, they are not able to get out of their homes. What should be done to prevent the mental illness in these times?
Very true. This, I think, is going to become another important issue, because the schools are closed. They are not able to see their teachers. So that face-to-face interaction, which is important for child development, is missing. I feel here the parents should, take little more extra efforts now that even most of the parents are working from home. I think a little more time should be devoted to engage the child in some activities of his interest, of his, age appropriate kind of activities. Secondly, as the school is going on online and we have this online platform, I don't know what we would have done a few years back if COVID would have hit us then. So I think we should make advantage of this online platform. For my child, what I do is plan some virtual play date. She's a girl, so she really enjoys that. Some kind of these activities can be made age appropriate and designed for the children. Thirdly, what we can do is, fortunately in Kenya there are outdoor spaces where you can take your children on Sundays, avoiding more of public kind of settings. So those things should be encouraged, I feel. So at a time when you can go to places where the children can trek or have a walk, avoiding crowds, so such things should be now taken into the schedule, I feel. Either Saturday or Sunday, whenever the family is free, they should schedule such activities. Fourthly, for definitely I think the schools, many of the schools have started online, so keeping them busy with activities, mental or creative, etc., is helping them a bit. I find my child a bit more calm after the school has started online as compared to what she was a month ago. And what I also came across from the information over the CDC and WHO sites is that they say if the child is playing with the similar kind of a family, like suppose, just giving an example, my girl plays with her friend who stays on the 6th floor, and the contact with that friend is there, say 2 or 3 times in a week, and that family is also doing they're working from home, so their exposure to other people is also minimal, and so is my daughter's. So she has not expanded her group of friends, so she has fixed her friends to 1 or 2, and that kind of an activity. And also we take them to play not indoors but on a parking lot when nobody is there around. So devising some kind of things like this, where you can minimize the contact of children with other kids, with more kids, and yet keep them occupied, I think will help to prevent the mental affection that they are already into.
Yeah. And what about the screen time? All the kids are exposed too much to the screens these days.
True, true. I think those guidelines now need to be revised. We say that the screen time should be less than 2 hours in children, but nowadays the entire schooling is happening on screen. But in that also, what I have observed these days is the teacher is on the screen for a set amount of, set period of time, say 20 minutes or 15 minutes. Then they are giving assignments to the kids. So what I do is and most of the assignments are to be done in the notebook instead of doing them on the computer. So that I feel is a very good thing that the school has done. So what I do is, every time they send me a Google document, I take a printout of it so that she can shut her computer and solve whatever she's solving on a paper or on that printout. So that is my little way of reducing her screen time. Having said that, I think for the next 3 or 4 months, we may not be able to follow the less than 2 hours of the screen time guidelines. But what we can do is, after school time, say after 3 p.m., we can at least increase their play or activity time at home itself, for at least 1 to 2 hours, by engaging them in something, some dance or whatever, that kind, so that the physical activity is also there, which is now entirely missing from the school schedule.
So, by chance, suppose any kid gets infected by COVID-19, is there any treatment available for the kids?
Okay, so there is not any specific treatment for COVID-19 as yet. So the treatment for coronavirus 19 in adults as well as in kids across all age groups still remains supportive. It's a viral infection, so none of the antibiotics act against it. So all that is given is supportive care during these times. Most of the children, fortunately, do not go on to require any oxygenation support, etc. But still, if you see that the child is getting more severe symptoms, like if the fever is very high and not going down, if the child is not able to eat or drink during this illness because of the throat problems, and if he is getting dehydrated, if there are other complaints developing like vomiting or severe headache or a neck pain, then get in touch with the healthcare provider. Some such cases may require hospitalization and supportive care, but there is still no definitive therapy for this coronavirus.
And, how should infants be taken care of in these times? They cannot wear masks, and
True.
you cannot tell them to stop touching their face or nose. What should be done
Very true.
about them?
See, again, like we discussed in the beginning, fortunately, even the younger ones have not, even they have presented with very mild illness. So what we can do here is social distancing. The mother and the baby and the family really practices those. Obviously, we cannot expect the child to do that here, but the mother and the rest of the family have to practice all the hand hygiene, the hand washing guidelines, the cleaning of surfaces, the cleaning of frequently touched surfaces in the house, and all those things. And here what we can do is, like I said, the vaccination is very important, and breastfeeding has to be continued, because that is the most effective in boosting the immunity of the baby.
Yes.
So yeah, in this setting, I feel social distancing and taking care of the hygiene will be most effective in preventing COVID-19 in the very younger ones.
Okay. In the last but not the least, when do you expect the schools to reopen? Do you think schools should reopen soon, or they should take their own pretty time?
Here, what I see now in Kenya, the cases are on a decreasing trend as compared to what we saw last month. So I discussed this same thing with my daughter's school also. They are speculating that it may open in January. That's what most of the schools are speculating. But having said that, again, I think it is still going to be an individual decision whether to send children or not. In other parts of the world, what the schools have done is given an option to the parents whether they want to continue with virtual education or they want to physically send the child to the school. So that is, I think, a good idea to be done, because like I said, many of the families may have elderly people in their house, and this thing is not going to disappear in 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
So there still might be infections going around. So precautions will be continued even through the next year, at least the first part of the year, definitely. So I do not know how schools in Kenya are going to plan from January onwards. But if they give this option of virtual as well as physical, I think that will be good for the parents. But what I hear from the teacher is that they are going to follow all the precautionary measures that the WHO has mentioned. So now the classrooms will appear a bit different, and maybe they might call children in groups to the school rather than calling the whole batch. So the schedule will also be a bit different. So definitely there are still challenges in the initial part of the next year as well.
When are you expecting the vaccine to be out?
This is a very difficult question. Do not ask me at all. No, we still do not know. For sure, we still do not know. Yes, we still do not know.
Okay, so we still have to run the same way we have been doing.
Yes, we still have to take all those precautionary measures that we have discussed. For sure, we do not know when the vaccines are going to be launched, but definitely they are underway. Hopefully, they should come soon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madhura. It was fantastic talking to you. In such a short notice, you have actually given me a lot of time. And I'm very sure all the kids out there, all the families out there, parents like me and others, I'm very sure they are going to be very much interested in knowing that how to take care of their kids. And you have really helped everybody.
Thanks so much, Shubrika, for bringing this topic up. And as you said initially, basically I practice pediatric endocrinology, but you see, Corona does not stop spare any, it is the same across all ethnicities, all age group, and all disorders. So even my children who have type 1 diabetes or thyroid problems, or those who are on steroids for some reason, are at the same risk of getting corona as any other child. So for all us doctors, this is, and all of us are still researching into this topic also, in addition to our own specialties.
Thank you so much, Dr. Madhura. Thank you so much for taking out time for us.
Yeah, thank you. Stay safe, stay happy.
So that was Dr. Madhura Joshi, consultant pediatric endocrinologist at Medihill Hospital, Parklands. She is MBBS DNB Pediatrics, has got fellowship in pediatric endocrinology, and her special interests are childhood diabetes, growth disorders, thyroid problems in children. And yes, we have definitely learned a lot about childcare from her, how to take care of our kids in these times of corona and otherwise too. This is Shubrika. I'll keep bringing such interesting topics and interesting people on my show SG Life, brought to you by Crown Paints. If you like it, crown it. My Facebook page is Shubrika. My YouTube channel is Shubrika Johari. And my Instagram handle is Shubrika Johari. See you again.